What's going on, Dragons? Happy Friday. As always, I'm your co-host, Cory, and welcome to episode 1 of our weekly conversation about all things Magic the Gathering. Today, joining me, as always, in the Dragon's Den, hot out on the West Coast, it's our beloved co-host, Cole.
Oh yeah, it is indeed hot. It's very horrifyingly hot, 75 degrees here permanently, and we're enjoying the bliss of this Alaskan breeze. So we're doing good. How
The
are you holding
bliss of
back
the
up?
Alaskan breeze.
Yeah, you get the Alaskan air essentially. That's why it's really eternal spring down here, except for when it's not.
Sure. I thought you were getting blasted by the Chinese pollution. I thought that was the rule of thumb.
No, it's really more so this AC unit. Hopefully you can't hear that, but it's pretty keeps it cool. So.
Fair enough. Also, this week, we are joined by fellow Magic the Gathering podcaster and the co-host of Spotify and the internet's favorite brewing podcast, Brew Review. We have Mr. Cody in the house.
What's up, everybody?
I think we're now one step closer to my ultimate goal of having the most confusingly named set of podcast hosts with Cory, Cole, and Cody. So if we can get like another CO name in here, we'll have kind of rounded it out.
So if nobody loses track this episode. If you can name us at the end of this, you win a prize.
Yeah, and I think what we do is like mid-episode, we all start doing impersonations of each other's voices. That way it's one of those like, it is Cody, but it sounds like Cory, but he's saying the kind of things that Cole would really say, and we just kind of keep it on edge for everybody.
We should all have nicknames. Like I'll call the both of you guys Seaman.
Growing up, I had a family friend who would call me a co-man, and so we'd all just be co-mans.
We could. It could be like Coco and Co.
That's good. This
some
might be
kind of
the start of a new
chocolate-based-
podcast.
Yeah,
right.
right.
It's like Coco and Co. Some kind of like chocolate-based legal team.
Co-cubed.
Legal team.
So this week, you guys, we brought on the illustrious Cody and the somewhat dimming Cole.
Oh, all right.
Oh man.
Because we have a little bit of a different episode for you guys. So typically, this is the week that we would be doing like a Gen Con post events kind of discussion that we tend to do after all the events we go to. But I'm not getting back in town until pretty much right when this episode goes live, so we are going to postpone that for a week. And instead, we're going to be talking about the perfect Magic set. Not to be confused with Bloomborough, which is the perfect Magic set. But we're going to be designing the perfect Magic set today. So we brought in the expert at brewing to kind of break down what our opinions would be of what's the ideal fantasy set for us as far as setting, mechanics, size, I guess timing in relation to other set releases, really whatever it is that makes the ideal setting for us to have a great set. So let's take it away. So Cody, I think the area we can start off on is setting. Is it more important to you when looking at a set? Is it more of a mechanic based idea that makes a perfect set, or do you feel like it's more of the story and the lore of the planes?
I feel like also I just want to say caveat. There's a giant asterisk next to expert deck brewer. I
thought
consider
the
myself just
asterisk was the.
I just consider myself
that?
a deck building addict. Is what I would call it.
I'll give you expert. I think the asterisk is right there in the X. Like it's E asterisk hurt.
As far as setting, I think it's got to be a nice mix because I feel like there's obviously the MTG community has like the Vorthos who are like super into the lore, which I'm kind of into the lore. I don't know everything. I've only been playing the game for about 2 years, but like I think that's important. But also I think there's also the side who just cares about when you're playing cards and mechanics are important. So I tried today to kind of do a little bit of both of those. Like maybe I did an okay job at it.
You're already downselling it. maybe I did an okay job at it. I'm not an expert. Who would say such a thing? It's just pre-hedging. I don't know if I like that.
Well, that's just building up
What
the
about you, Cole?
excitement. I
Yeah.
definitely agree with Cody's point there that it has to be a good mix. I definitely like the lore and I like the MTG storyline, and so obviously the set kind of has to make sense in that storyline, or it's a little offshoot set that isn't necessarily story important. But I like the
Mhm.
lore, so I kind of I leaned into more so the mechanics for like this build a set workshop kind of thing, but because I'm not a Magic the Gathering lore writer and I'm not going to share my fanfic of Magic the Gathering for free. Uh, but yeah, I do agree. It,
Yeah.
it has to be a good mix.
Is that gonna be like first if we ever launch a Patreon, that's gonna be the first thing, get the Cole Magic the Gathering fanfic?
Yeah, I'll send it. I'll forward it straight to any email addresses that are left in the comments, but you have to like and subscribe.
It's already like 2,100 chapters, 40,000 pages on some kind of like doom scrolling forum somewhere.
It's all Wattpad.
Mm,
I was gonna go with
beautiful.
Tumblr, but
What's the difference, really, at a certain point?
yeah, really.
And what about you, Cory?
No, I think I agree on this. I think when you look at mechanics, I like when you have sets where the mechanics really marry the setting very well. And recently we just had Bloomborough come out, so that's a good marriage, I think, and a good example of what we're talking about, which is when you think about like, okay, the birds have offspring, and it makes sense, like they lay eggs and make little miniature versions, things like that, where it's just it works so well within the flavor of the set. Or you've got like the raccoons expend mana because they're rummaging around and doing stuff like that. Like a lot of those mechanics tie very well in the setting. So I think it's sort of a hand in hand experience because, like you said, some people are deep into the lore and they might care about the storyline to the point where the mechanics fall a little more by the wayside. And some people are so mechanic driven that, the fact that there is a story is just sort of like an ancillary thing to push them from planes to planes to planes. But I think you got to hit that nice balance for me. Like if you go one way to the other, on the pendulum, it loses a little bit for me. So I like a set that has that nice middle ground.
It seems like we all kind of agree then that we're all on the fence post about this one, right in the middle.
That's why it's a great podcast because nobody's making any hot takes. It's going to be such a lukewarm kind of sail into the sunset, right?
If we're
For
yes
sure.
menning this, it's all going to work out perfectly. No feelings hurt.
Yes,
We
yes,
all
yes.
come out better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely agree. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, is there any recent examples? I brought up Bloomborough, but are there any recent examples besides that in your guys' mind that says maybe not the perfect set because I don't know that there is the perfect set, but is near in that regard?
Well, the perfect set has yet to be created. There's always going to be a better set. There's always a bigger fish lurking in the water. I do agree.
There's always power to
Taking
be crept.
Bloomborough is certainly a really popular set just in terms of design and lore, and it's super like the mechanics just all make sense, and that's enjoyable. I think like kind of in the opposite direction, if you look back at not to beat a dead horse or to investigate a dead horse's murder, but the murder at Karlov Manor, which was almost entirely mechanic driven. The story just was pretty weak. That was a set that was not super well received, but it was interesting and it had a lot of interesting mechanics that in a certain light made sense. But nearly it was obviously not the winner of 2024.
Not yet, anyways. What about you, Cody? Is there any
It's gonna make a comeback.
standouts?
I think I could go with Wildsville Drain because like the bargain made sense to the story because there was the three
Mhm.
witches that you would make deals with. The roles is because like everybody like was playing a role. There was the hero and the sorcerer and the wicked and like all that. So like that made sense. I feel like that one thematically like tied its mechanics in very very well. On top of like food being really important to it because there were these creatures that were coming to life that were made of food. So like I think that one's a really good one for that. I I do have to agree. I feel like MKM, like the mechanics were just like it made sense to a detective story, but they fell very flat because it really was like, I guess this makes sense that you're investigating by exiling cards from your graveyard. Like that doesn't, I don't know. It didn't tie well for me. And then like suspecting is still like it was like day of release that I was like, what does this do? I'm so confused. So like I think that is a very good example of like mechanics not really tying in well with what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, we talked about it on our last episode as of recording this, but 2 episodes ago as of this airing, where we kind of hit like our mid-year review, and Cole and I both agreed that just the fact that you had so many samey mechanics, and they didn't really hit the mark as far as lore and the story you were telling. Like it sort of made sense. Oh, we're disguising or we're cloaking or we're suspecting enemies. Like they made sense in name, but really in gameplay as it tied to the story that was supposed to unfold there, maybe not the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
No, but as far as like sets you mentioned, so Wilds of Eldraine. When you look at Wilds of Eldraine, obviously that was a very enchantment heavy set. Obviously foods are artifacts, but other than that, it was a very enchantment focused set. And we see less and less of these, I think, as time goes on, where they're like, this is the artifact set, like we had in Brothers War. This is the enchantment set with Wild Rain. This is a creature heavy set, like we had in Ikoria. Like you see them pop up sporadically. Do you think your idea of a perfect set is very card type focused? Like, hey, I want something that's very enchantment heavy, or very creature or artifact or planeswalker heavy, or do you want something that's kind of an equal balance of all the card types and all the play styles?
I mean, personally, I think for a set to be the perfect set, so it pleases everybody,
Mhm.
you have to have something for everybody. So, everybody's fancy has to be tickled. I did jokingly think about what if we did a set where that nobody printed any green cards, no green cards, or like any like we just totally axe
Finally.
out a color from the color pie this set. But like obviously that would hurt the people who are looking forward to something that they can put in their decks, or a new green creature that does something that something else does. So you have to satisfy every access to make a perfect set. You can leave out battles, but I want access to all the card types.
So you want, but that means so no battles, but you want like cases. You want sagas. You want like every specific. You want conspiracies are going to come back.
No,
Contraptions.
I don't need subtypes. I
Augmented
just need basic
creatures.
text.
Lessons.
Yes.
Yeah, lessons,
This set
classes,
is going to be a lesson.
the whole
That's
nine
for sure.
yards. It's going to be a real trial. I think is more so than a lesson. I think that's interesting, but I'm gonna disagree with you on that a little bit, because I think part of the issues that people will have with like the quote unquote perfect set is if you pander to too many strategies, you kind of take away from every strategy getting its day, right? Like if I make 300 cards and I got one card for each 300 strategies you may or may not want, is anybody really happy at that point? Because you might go, wow, I got this one seriously great mill card, but it's the only card I got, and the rest of the set I don't care about.
It was said once that I fear the man who has designed 300 cards for one mechanic more so than the man who has practiced 300 mechanics one time.
The real Bruce Lee of card design.
Yeah, Bruce Rosewater, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. What's weird is they do say Mark Rosewater does go to his dojo every night, and he kicks the same Fibble Fit bag 50 times, and that's why you never get a solid one. What about you, Cody? Are
I
you honed in on a specific theme or sub theme, or is this going to be the Cole catch all kind of let's please everybody and satisfy no one?
I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle because I do feel like there are sets that come out where it's like they do try to hit every, like, okay, here's something for the mill players, here's an enchantress spell, like here's creature heavy decks. And
Mhm.
sometimes I do feel like those hit the mark, but other times I feel like it's nice to have that because like if you have a very niche strategy and like, I only play commander. So if I have a niche like curses deck and there's one card that deals with curses, cool. That's like my one card a year I'll probably get. Awesome. But the people who play like creature heavy decks, oh man, like this is the 9th dragon this year. I can't really keep slotting more dragons into my Dragon deck that already has the best dragons.
First off, I can always keep slotting more dragons into my Dragon deck.
You just cut
So
the
don't
lands. I
you?
gotcha.
Well, or I put in that, was it Yorion, the commander that lets me put another 20 cards or whatever into my deck?
Yeah, nobody's ever really checking
The
how many
companion.
cards you have in your deck. You can get away with playing with about
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
107 to 109 cards, and that goes if you're playing double sleeved. If you mix them up, you do half double sleeved, half regular sleeved. That number changes.
Change.
Well, I think you're underestimating that one person out there that's like, "No, I only just got my one good creature this year. What will I do?"
Yeah.
Why is Rakdos eating so good this year?
But also to like the kind of the
But yeah,
fact
but
of novelty, or like it's kind of fun to have a unique deck like a curse deck that you don't get to see all the time. So
yeah.
there's also something novel about getting that one card, and it doesn't like bring everybody's attention to, oh, now all the curse cards are $30 because they were majorly printed in like one set, and now everybody's buying them up or something like that. Like there I think there's also a benefit and a fun feeling of like this, like you said, Cody, is just like one easy swat in. Like I have card decks that I don't really ever change because they just play well. But then you see something that's like so obvious, such a perfect match that you're like, this feels like it was made for the deck, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah, and I think also in like choosing like, okay, should a set be focused on like just creatures? I mean, there's usually 5 to 6 sets a year now. So like, if my perfect set has creatures, but then someone else's perfect set has like all spell slinger, it works out because then everybody gets everything. You know?
So you should have 6 sets, and you should have like one spell slinger, one creature, one that's going to be all battles for Cole and
Nice.
nothing else. All battles and basic lands. See, there you go. I'm already halfway through the year.
I'm hoping we get some more battles. I'm personally a battle enjoyer.
I think so. For me, for battles, I think what battles is lacking, like the one thing that I think is going to push over the edge, is what is the incentive right now for other opponents to attack it.
Right.
That's where I think it's lacking. Like if we talk about it in
Yeah.
a 4-player game, if I put the battle on you, I mean obviously I want the backside, so I'm going to attack it. You, depending on what the battle is, may want to defend it to prevent me from getting that backside. But the other 2 players are like, who cares? Why am I going to attack it to
Yeah.
benefit this third person?
When I initially saw it, I thought it was modeled after like, oh, whoever just defeats the battle gets the boon, and like is kind of a risk that you
Hmm.
take in playing it. But even at release, that was just another one where you're like, oh, I protect the battle. No, you can go ahead and attack it. Like if you were playing, any pre-releases, it was like I don't think I attacked. I don't think I ever have attacked a battle, even one that I've played. I've played
Well,
very few battles.
I think what it needs, honestly, is if they had some kind of like Grothama style effect where, let's say your battle had 4, whatever they are, battle points or HP, and everybody attacked, and you went, okay, when it flips, whoever did the most damage to it gets to draw an extra card or something like that. Like some kind of payoff where other
Yeah.
people want to attack it. If they got to that, then I can see battles really pushing forward.
I
Yeah,
mean, the
when
fact
they
that you just
first got announced, I was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" Because like whoever hits it is gonna get the effect, and then they were like, "No, no, no, it's just whoever casts it." And I'm like, "Well, no, it's." I think battles really should be something like going forward, where it's like whoever you put it on gets a benefit for like keeping it.
Mhm.
Like, let's say it's like just "Oh, hey, I'm putting this battle on you. Your creatures get +1/+1 as long as you have it." And so then there is a little bit of incentive for like a go wide deck, like, "Oh, I want to keep that because then all my little tokens are getting
Mhm.
+1/+1." But
maybe
the flip side is like you get like a 7/7, so it's like everyone wants to attack it.
so our
Yeah,
perfect
so
set
so
seems to be
the
perfecting battle mechanic. I think we should put our set around battles,
Yeah, apparently.
but also the fact that earlier, like Corey, you didn't know the name of the counters that go on battles is kind of like a failing of the mechanic itself. That should be something that's easy to remember. It could just be loyalty counters, but instead it's
Yeah, yeah,
defense
yeah.
counters.
So I like your logic in blaming the designer and not me. So I want you to be, very clear of my appreciation because it was 100% not my failure.
Agreed.
Okay, let's one more question I got for you from setting, and then I think we kind of deep delve into some more specifics here. The other question I hear a lot when it comes to like ideal sets or the perfect kind of new set that people are excited for on the horizon is it a new plane or are we revisiting an old plane? You know, so when we look at some upcoming sets, obviously a revisiting of Lorwyn is on the horizon, a revisiting of Strixhaven's on the horizon, and those tend to get people very excited that enjoyed those planes originally. But on the flip side, you have things like Bloomborough, where a lot of people are very excited because it's a new take with gorgeous art, you know, like cutesy mechanics, stuff like that. So, what do you think is more of an appeal to you when designing the set?
I went with a revisiting of old themes. I think the Magic, lore people have done a pretty good job over the years. And so I kind of like chose a specific set to revisit. And then unfortunately, the set that I'm revisiting, they're already planning on revisiting. So this will kind of act as like my I predicted this, mark my words, shaking my fist at clouds kind of moment. Um, but I really liked Lorwyn, and that's always been a set that I look at the preacher or the creatures and I really appreciate. And so even though Lorwyn was like at its time one of the worst selling sets in the history of the game, I think it came out with some really cool mechanics, and so I've kind of revisited that and breathed some life into Lorwyn. Lore One. It's the new Lorwyn.
Hmm. Are you going to be more on the Lorwyn side, more on the even side? Like, are we doing day or are we doing night?
Um, I'm kind of doing it like a dusk, so you could really put it in either category.
Okay. What about for you, Cody?
Kiskin are like one of my favorite creature types, so I'm very excited to go back to Lorwyn.
Hmm.
Another tough one because like I do think, like you said, like going to these new planes is like really awesome, but like I think also going back is like I think a lot of people were excited for Murders of Karlov Manor because it's like, oh, we're going back to Ravnica, and people have such a tie to Ravnica because they have the guilds, and people, everyone has their favorite guild, Rakdos Gang Gang. Um, but like I think there needs to be like a healthy balance because like this year has very much been like, oh, this is the year of new planes after the Ravnica, like because we went to oh my god, Thunder Junction and then Bloomburrow, and now we're going to Dustmorn. And
Hmm.
I just don't want next year to be okay, well, now we've gone to all new ones, we're just going to revisit old ones. Like I think there should be like
Yeah,
a revisit new one.
yeah. No, I think the nice thing too. So what you're talking about with everyone enjoys Ravnica a lot because they've got their guilds that they all fall in love with. I mean, we kind of see that thematically revisited in some sets. Like Bloomborough obviously has a different creature type representing different
Hmm.
two color pairings. So they've got like guilds, but not guilds per se. They're like creature type guilds.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that concept where it's something that hey you really love from older sets that people tend to really invest in because I don't know anybody that plays Magic that's not like oh I'm Rakdos or I'm Selesnya or what like they all have some guild they represent once they start playing the game for any duration of time.
I mean, my fiance famously is considers herself a gruel girl, and that's what kind of like got her into magic, was that feeling of like it's almost like getting sorted into a house at Hogwarts or something, like feeling like these colors perfectly represent me, and that feels good. But then also I kind of like the older themes of like revisiting sets several times within one release, so like a block and then really giving you a deep dive into one plane rather than it being like, oh, we're going from murder mystery to cowboys to fun animals to a scary movie set to the back behind the Denny's. Give me a set that's back behind the Denny's in the parking lot.
Well, I want to hold up 1 second because I don't want you to sweep this under the rug here. So you bring up the Gruel Girl mentality, but where's the love for the nickname that you have so humbly embraced since you've joined the podcast? I
it's
want to hear
it's
you
still
say
there.
it, Cole.
It's still there. The
No, you
Demir
got to feed it.
How Demir daddies
Oh my
rise
god.
up. How Yeah.
Well, hey, it's been fun being on the podcast. I will see y'all later. Have a good
Cody, you don't you know yourself emboldened to join the Demir Daddies with Cole?
I think I'm good. You know, I think I'm gonna stay over here. We're the Rakdos people. You know, we're hanging out. I mean, we're kind of weird in our own right, I guess, if you really think about it. But let's not think about it too much.
Yeah, I don't know. The Rakdos Daddies really rolls off the tongue. I like to
Rakdos
envision.
mommies.
He's
Judith?
cooking.
Maybe.
He's
Huh?
cooking.
He's
Yeah,
cooking.
we're
Okay,
getting
okay,
there. We're
okay.
getting
All
there.
right, all right.
I
I
like to.
apologize for
I'd like to
declining your
envision.
listenership after that.
It's like one of those,
No.
like Snoopy in the Red Baron, where it's just spiraling
Yeah.
down.
Exponential
Um,
decline curve.
yeah. It's, exponential is very light. I think we're on the back half of the bell curve right now. So I guess without further ado, so we have all three, if I'm not mistaken, come up with some light pitch for what our ideal perfect set is. So we kind of just talked a little bit about conceptually as far as setting, kind of mechanics. Is it something you would want to return to? Do you want it to be focused on specific, card types or play style, stuff like that? But I think as our guest, Cody, I'm gonna let you lead this off. So you had a pitch for what your idea of a perfect set would be. So let's take it away. And keep your criticism down. I can hear you venting from here.
I'll mute myself for
Um,
this.
oh, so when you came to me with this topic, I was like, okay, what plane do I want to go back to, or do I want to do a new one? And I thought about like the initial thing that got me interested in Magic all like years ago, before I got into it 2 years ago. I saw a trailer that had Godzilla in it, and I was like,
Okay.
what is this? And when I got into Magic, I went back and like learned about Ikoria, and I was like, Ikoria is fucking cool. I can swear on this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Well,
Uh,
let's slide.
yeah. So I was like, okay, if we're returning like Lorwyn, we're returning to Strixhaven and Tarkir, I was like, I think Ikoria is also a good one we can go back to. Uh,
Hmm.
so sales pitch, this is Ikoria, what dwells below. So the
Mm.
idea here is it's almost like that Hollow Earth from like the Godzilla Kong movies,
Mhm.
but it's more about the monsters that are in that Hollow Earth coming to the surface. So my kind of sales pitch here is, how has Ikoria been since the Phyrexian invasion? Well, turns out the monsters on the surface weren't the only scary thing on the plane. Underneath, there's more crazy creatures that have been powered by the crystals that are on Ikoria, like the Ozolith.
Oh,
They kind of
nice.
Mhm.
just seep down below, and they're starting to emerge, which we'll come back to that. And they're attacking both the humans and the monsters. And now every set has been having one planeswalker. So I think Vivian returns, and she's trying to
Okay.
unite the humans and the monsters in dealing with these new threats.
Okay.
So sort of a surface dweller versus subterranean theme.
Yeah. Yeah. So I figured
Okay.
there's a lot of opportunity there for like new creature types, because like in the base Ikoria, there's a lot of like elementals, dinosaurs, beasts, cats,
Mhm.
whereas we can go like there's moles, there's like centipede, like, creepy crawly, like giant spiders, all the stuff you don't really want to wake up and see in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I like it. It very much leads to like a Jules Verne, like Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of concept. Or I'm sorry
Or
for those of
Dwayne the
you
Rock
who are.
Johnson journeyed into the center of the
Yeah, yeah.
earth. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
I was thinking. First off, Cole, it's Will Ferrell's Journey to the Center of the Earth.
I'm so sorry. Did he
Was
direct
he?
that movie?
oh,
Is he
he
in that
did.
movie?
He did. He wrote that one, I think, didn't he?
He was in one of them.
Okay.
I'm gonna fact check you
And
on that.
first off, it's called Jurassic Park 3: The Lost World.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Brendan Fraser?
Okay, how many people in cinema have gone to the middle of the earth? Because it
Quite a
seems
few.
like apparently,
He's in a movie called
you
Land of the
know,
Lost. Will Ferrell.
Cole. Bruce Willis once landed on an asteroid, and he was drilling towards the center of said asteroid. Does that count?
If an asteroid is the Earth, then I don't know what planet we're on, buddy. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So, in spite of all of the A or lower list celebrities that have somehow ventured to the middle of the earth, so we've got an emerging threat coming from the deep mantle or core or sub Earth or whatever we're calling it for the sets. Vivian is rallying Otrimi and the troops up top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm liking the pitch so far.
And so, that's the story side of it. Now we get to the
Uh-huh.
mechanics. So obviously, I know this is a one that's not a lot of people like, but I think a returning mechanic has to be mutate because
Sure.
that wasn't confusing for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Mutate
Mhm.
support, rise
I
up.
also think, rise up, emerge because there are creatures emerging, so we can kind of cheat stuff
Okay.
into play that way. And then I would like to see some new companions. Either the same creatures with different like companion text this time and different abilities. What I really want here is I want a playable Lutri that doesn't get insta banned day one.
Well, with all the new
Okay.
otter support, I don't think there's ever going to be a new Lutri. He'd be too strong, regardless of effect. The otter support just makes him stronger.
Mhm.
I'm just kidding.
Don't do this to me, Cole. I
I
have so
love.
much
We're
hope in
talking
my
about the
heart.
perfect set. We're talking about the perfect set, and you're just like, well, let me just burst your bubble right
I
off
was
the
just
bat.
kidding. I was just kidding. I was just making a reference to Bloomburrow having otters as a relevant creature type, and Lutri being a otter. Don't hate me. Don't at me.
I want more otters, damn it.
You're over here. You're like Cody is wishing with Genie, and you're over here just Jafaring up his entire vision.
But I do have two new mechanics that I would like to run by
Okay.
y'all and see what y'all think.
Let's do it.
Flying.
So
I gotcha.
flying, yeah.
Mhm.
First up is bonded. So this is pretty much mutate,
Okay.
but for humans because mutate doesn't let you do humans. So, and my real goal here is, do you remember that 3 cards where it was the guy and his little dinosaur, and it was like them meeting, and like it's like forgotten or forbidden friendship or whatever card where like the dinosaurs are getting stolen, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
it's the third one where they're reunited. I want that guy and his dinosaur to be a legendary creature this set because
I'm pretty sure they made that happen for you though, and that was
this can be the version of those cards. There we go.
It could be. See, there we go. We've solved a world for Magic the Gathering, which is how they're going to figure that one out.
But yeah, I think bonded could be a fun way because like if getting the humans and the monsters up top to work together, I think it ties in the story wise. But also, I think it'd be a new because humans is like one of the most like knapdacks that allows me to bond on and give myself double strike and pinging people for 4, like that.
Also, it's sort of like it makes why on mutate they just said humans, but from a flavor standpoint, it doesn't an elf mutate, or why can dwarves mutate but a human can't?
Yeah.
Like I said, from mechanically I get it because they can't enter text box the like 50 some odd humanoid creature types they have. Their option. And this could be our opportunity too to have things like banding workarounds, maybe.
Okay.
Oh, now I can fuse a bunch of goblins together and make an army of goblins.
We're not doing banding, mutate, and
It's
battles in
happening.
the same set.
Oh,
Why
we're
not
having
call
battles in the set. Hold on, let's go with the returning mechanics.
battles are back?
Yeah. And then lastly for new mechanics is one I came up with called Crystallize. So this would be featured more on the like creatures that are coming out of the ground, and it'd be create a crystal equip token and attach it to a creature. Next time that creature would be dealt damage, you sacrifice the crystal instead. Almost a little bit like
Totem armor.
Umbra
shield
armor
counter.
or a shield counter, yeah. But it'd be an artifact, so that then you can mess around with artifacts, equipment strategies with these as well.
Okay, so it's kind of like the artifact token synergy. That it definitely should be accounted into the cost of the cards. Like there's some boost there. That's
Crystal. Anytime you
solid.
say crystal in a card game, though, I just think of the Crystal Beast from Yu-Gi-Oh.
I think just bring in the crystal beast from
I mean,
Yu-Gi-Oh! Like that'd be fun. That's a good mechanic.
well,
Is that a good mechanical? You put them back in the trap zone, spell trap zone.
Honestly, my perfect set introduces a spell and trap zone to Magic the Gathering, an entirely different board.
Mm-hmm. So your perfect set has blue.
No, my perfect set has no bad cards, Yugi boy. Sorry, my connection was a little bad there, but I said my perfect set has no bad cards, Yugi boy. It was a Yu-Gi-Oh reference.
I like you blame it on the connection, but I disagree. I think fate cut you off on there. Much like
The recording
how
will
Grandpa was frozen in a VHS.
the recording will approve all, and you'll see, and they'll all see.
I edit the recording, so we'll see what they see. But that portion, that idle thread, I will leave in. What about you, Cole?
so
what is your hot perfect set? Since it's obviously a Yu-Gi-Oh! Universes Beyond.
Well, I do just want to say, Cody, I think that was extremely unique. I also really liked Ikoria. I'm a biology enthusiast at heart, and so like any set that brings back dinosaurs, it makes me a paleontology enthusiast. I love dinosaurs. I love all sorts of big monstrous creatures. I like flipping over rocks. I'm a bug guy at heart, so I like to think some prehistoric bugs, because that's always dragonflies the size of eagles. Like I think there's some potential here in your Ikoria set to
Right.
splash into prehistoric bugs. Um, but my perfect set is, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going back to Lorwyn. I really liked Lorwyn. I felt like it was a very unique set, and I'm a creature boy at heart, as well as biology. So I'm just really a fan of creature types. So if we can kind of mix these Lorwyn creatures with Ikoria creatures, I think we can both be satisfied. But my set changes Lorwyn in the sense of I really want to subvert expectations. I want to have like creatures that are in different colors than you usually see them. So we're not gonna have any green cards. Just kidding, no green elves. But the elves will be red or white. Or, maybe we see some Boros merfolk action. Just like, what are those guys doing there on every creature type? And it's not about like,
So you want like
huh.
you want like a color shifted set?
Yeah, I want color shift. I want to color shift a set, and not in the way that just like screws up the color pie. Like I'm not trying to give, green or like red white elves. Just I don't want to make anything busted. I don't want to break what's already been broken. But I really just want to
Mm.
like think about things in different ways. So I want to like have the colors focus on things that you wouldn't normally see, or like mechanics like uh, blue, rather than being all about meticulously crafting the spells that you cast, and more so like delving into the red side of chaos, or getting some like random effects, or red, which is a lot more bursty, seeing a little bit more like long-term plan setting, like things that are a little bit more strategic and long-term, rather than immediate payoff. So not breaking anything, not making black have appropriate enchantment removal, but just giving it a different view. And then also, it goes without saying that Lorwyn was the first set that had planeswalkers. So I want to have the color shifted OG 5 planeswalkers. Like I want like a blue or green Chandra, that sort of thing. I think that'd be fun to show a character, a beloved character in Magic, in a very different light, or perhaps a different hue.
The color shift planeswalkers thing might be interesting. So you'd like a red or black Jace, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's like,
Okay.
in a similar Phyrexian takeover sense. Like this is just a time-honored character in a little bit of a more hypothetical light.
You know, I could actually see something like that potentially working within the storyline they have now because of how many planeswalkers are desparked. They could easily make the storyline something where a bunch of them regain their spark, but suddenly, their mana's different than what they're used to.
Oh, and all the planeswalkers are animals, and they're robot animals in mine.
Oh,
And they
okay.
all
I'm just kidding.
they all live in an underground cavern
Yeah,
with
precisely.
with Mecha Godzilla and King Kong. We're
Yeah.
just gonna combine all three, and we're gonna make the ultimate perfect set. All of our ideas will fuse into one grand idea.
And so I did also come up with a mechanic for this set. Lorwyn had a lot of really fun mechanics. One of them that I think was really cool was Champion, that is all about sacrificing a creature to get a benefit, and then when the creature you cast dies, or the creature that has Champion, you return the sacrificed creature. So I was just kind of thinking in that seam of like working on different dimensions with creatures, or spell effects. And so I came up with
Mhm.
a keyword called minion, or like enlist a minion. It's like minion is kind of the opposite of champion here, but it's like when you cast a spell that has minion or enlist a minion. I didn't think of a really ideal name for that. But creatures, they essentially like you are giving your opponent a creature that is forced. It's like goaded, but it's the opposite of goaded, where it's forced to attack you. You're giving your opponent a minion, but you're not like, hopefully not king making by giving somebody, a big 6/6 creature, and then kind of with that, like, oh, I'll give you this creature, but you have to swing it at that person. It's like, no, you are getting a stronger spell effect for the cost of giving
Mhm.
your opponent a large creature. And so, like for instance, I have like just kind of a generic spell name, but it'd be like summon, and then I came up with a demon name, but it's a little cringy, so we'll just go like summon demon, and it's a 1 mana black spell. It's a
I
sorcery.
want to hear the cringy name personally.
Yeah, yeah. Like
It
I
was
don't even care what the rest of the spell does at this point.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
name
I just need to
is,
hear the name.
I thought it was funny. It was insert Namir, which is insert name here, but just a little kind of
Oh
like
my
sped up there.
god.
But and then I was like, I was hypothetical. I was reading it to Erica to be like, does this sound okay? And I was like, all right. Every time I say it, it sounds worse. So I was backtracking it into demon. But basically, this is a sorcery. It costs 1 black, and it draws 2 cards, and it loses 2 life. So if you're familiar with Knight's Whisper, which is 2 black, and it draws you 2 cards and 2 life, this is 1. But for that, you enlist a minion, and so target opponent creates a 2/2 black demon token creature named Minion of Torment, or insert mirror. But then I was like, that just you can't make it. I can't make a whole new like token type. This is just a black demon token creature named Minion of Torment that has flying. It cannot block, so it can't be used as a blocker, and it must attack the abilities like owner, because like this ability goes on the stack under your control. And then I made some for every color, but they basically just do like little variations, or have like different keyword changes to reflect the appropriate color and such.
So
And
let me just say that one, I like the way that you have appropriated gift giving into like from
no,
Bloomberg into like a
oh well,
different
no, but
flavor.
that's a good
Also,
observation. But go on, go on.
also, I have one other observation, which is you already failed at the entire conceit of your plane because you said you want it kind of color shifted, so there's like Boros angels and stuff like that. So why is it a black demon? Why is it not like a green demon or a white demon or blue
Well,
demon?
he, the connections cutting out. I'm no, that's a great point.
Going through a tunnel?
That's a great point. And because of that, I concede that my perfect set subverts
Flawed.
expectations by giving you non-color shifted creatures when you're expecting the tokens to be color shifted. That's how it is. That's how it goes.
I think you subvert people's expectations because it's like on the card it's color shifted, but it has an effect that's like when this enters the battlefield, it becomes a black demon.
Yeah.
Flip a dice according to a 1 through 6 diagram. It is this color. It's all random. It's based off of a 1 through 6. 6 is choose a roll again.
This is like the set where if there was ever going to be like a legendary commander version of like painter servants, this is the set that needs it.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I like playing around with the colors. I like blind seer shenanigans. So I'm down to make colors kind of, an important theme. Whereas a lot of cards recently and a lot of sets recently kind of like stretch the bounds of like, oh wow, that seems, or like another Simic, good stuff. I want Simic bad stuff in a set.
I'm
Simic
just
should be like
thinking
the
about
bad gift giving set.
it really should. I'm just thinking about the ramifications of like future sets after yours, where people are suddenly playing Naya elves because you put in so many good Boros elves. They're like, but I can't give up on green, so we're gonna go three
Hmm.
colored Naya elves.
Well, and and that's fair. And that, so I tried to make it so like the colors, like for instance, like white. I proposed that would be like selfish cards that hurt others for their their own benefit. Kind of like a, a lot of white cards are, oh, each opponent draws 4 cards, you gain 1 life, or something like that. And so this is kind
Mhm.
of the opposite, where you're hurting others for your own gain, kind of making a political enemy of yourself. And that way it's not like it's not out of the color pie. You're not just because you have access to a creature type in a different color, hopefully it's not that integral. I didn't want to make Morophon decks even stronger. That was not my goal.
Mm, yeah,
Okay.
I like it. I think there are some people who would be very upset because as I've learned, people are very particular about that color pie. But I think it's like a cool, like almost like what if Lorwyn, like, and there's mono white merfolk and mono red elves. Like I kind of like that. It's kind of cool.
I think so too, especially like the idea of the elves and the merfolk does seem interesting because they're so ingrained in certain colors. Like elves are pretty much always Golgari in nature, and Simic is pretty much your merfolk. So I do like the fact that you're taking kind of like these core, like creature types and shifting those, because it would be interesting to see like blue angels or something like that where you're never going to see it in any other setting.
Green
And then you can
goblins.
also play. Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, but there's already Green Goblins.
Well, but
And
this
as
is
soon as Marvel comes out next year, there's gonna be even more Green Goblins, I'm sure.
well, that's where this goes. Is that
Hey,
it's a Green Goblin in universe character. This is the face of the entire set.
By the way, how upset are you gonna be next year when Green Goblin is red?
That would subvert my expectations, and so if I was mad about it, I'd want you to refer me to this date in history.
Because I feel like they're gonna go, well, Green Goblin's got a hoverboard, so we got to give him flying, but Green can't have flyers, so he's got to be red because he's a bad guy. So it's gonna be like Rakdos or Grixis Green Goblin or something like that.
I
He
can
throws
see
like little
Grixis.
bombs, so maybe he bolts on ETB and attack and rides around, and
Hmm.
I'm down. I'm down for it. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
William Defoe.
Now, here
Willem
comes.
Dafoe. That's what I'm looking for. I'm searching for that name in my mind. I was trying to make a Willem Dafoe joke, but yeah, go on.
It eluded you.
At the
All
moment,
right. Now, to
yes.
anchor it out with the best perfect set, setting the bar extremely low. I think hearing your two pitches, I actually went for probably the most controversial pick because I'm actually going to model mine off of a very unbeloved set, which is
Whoa.
Aftermath.
Oh, I thought it was going to be an
Mm.
unset.
I made the unset version of Aftermath, Aftermath Unglued. So a lot of people didn't like Aftermath for a couple reasons. One was just the size of the set. Two, I know some people had mixed opinions about like some of the team up commanders and sort of like the availability of things. But I think ultimately a lot of people had issues with the product itself because you had smaller booster sizes, like as far as physically smaller booster sizes. So here it is. Here's the pitch. We're gonna do the what if version of Aftermath, which is what if the Phyrexians won? So same size, same like little 100 card set or whatever. Because I think for me, sometimes the perfect set it would be more about having a curated amount as opposed to having 400 cards or whatever that a bunch are not as great. I kind of would rather have it honed into 100 150 cards that really bring home what I want out of the set. And we can do a lot of things like maybe we've got some more Phyrexianized creatures. Maybe we see some Phyrexian side team ups. We saw a lot of the like team ups as far as like Shalai and Halar and a few other ones that gained traction. But imagine if you had like completed Varaska teamed up with Azuri, who got turned into a Phyrexian, or Elish Norn and Jin Gataxia's team up.
Okay. That sounds like
See,
a
see?
card I do not want to sit down, or I don't even want to honestly think
Yeah.
about the ramifications of the release of a card like that.
First off, it's very simple. I draw 7 cards, you discard 7 cards. Anything you have on the field gets -2, -2. I get +2, +2. Then if I were to play any creature or artifact, it's a Panharmonicon for those. So I'm going to double up any of those into the battlefield triggers. See? Easy enough.
You put that on the
Also, if
back
you
of a
want to cast a
battle.
Anything
spell,
-2, -2.
and then if you want to cast a spell, the first spell that an opponent casts each turn is going to be countered, but then the first spell or artifact I cast each turn is going to be copied. And then
Can you
when
flip
you've done
the
those, then you're going
saga?
to
Yeah.
flip it. Yeah, you can flip
I would
into
say
the
it's got a little bit
sagas.
too high.
See, it's a
They'd have to bring
very
back the
cohesive card.
oversized card just for all that text.
Okay, but hear me out. Here's an alternative pitch on this then. What if you had all 5 Praetors, but they all had the ability to meld into each other?
And they formed into what? Mark Rosewater, PhD?
The
Yes.
Megazord of Praetors.
No, well, like, let's say, you could pick 2 of them, they all had partner or something like that. You could attack with them, and then, if you had Elish Norn or Gataxius, they could flip into some meld creature together. Like, you have so many effects from Elish Norn, so many from Gataxius, so many from Urabrask, whatever, and you pick 2 of them, and you go, "This is my team up."
Okay.
See? See?
That
I
sounded
I said it was gonna be
enthusiastic.
controversial.
Cody's
I said
okay.
controversial from the get go, but I think for me, really on the perfect set is sort of like setting yes because I enjoy the Bloomborough setting and I enjoy like Ikorio, we're talking about. I enjoy Strixhaven and Lorwyn that are upcoming. I'm even kind of interested in the whole Tarkir revisiting because I wasn't around for the first Tarkir. But for me, what really gets me excited is more on the mechanical side. We talked about it at the top of the episode is having that nice balance. And I like having a nice balance, but I want something that's going to kind of scratch that mechanics itch from a game design standpoint. I do like the idea of having sort of like almost the eventide version, like instead of a Lorwyn, like an eventide version of an Aftermath set where, but okay, well, what if they lost, And you could explore other abilities like Heroic is an older ability that had to do with if your creature gets targeted, it does this. Maybe we have a villainous version where your creature gets targeted and it does something negative to an opponent. You could see some other older kind of abilities come back, like Undergrowth, that had to do with the amount of cards in graveyards. Sort of like villainous, nefarious, quote unquote, abilities.
I like it. I like it.
Okay.
Takers? Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of death touch, it's life
Obviously.
touch. Dealing damage to a creature
Oh.
removes poison counters from that creature's owner. Something like this.
Yeah, or even things like Devour or Rampage. There's a bunch of mechanics like this that you don't see a lot of love for presently because they're constantly bringing out more and more mechanics. That I could see a lot of those kind of like ingest kind of stuff coming back and having its home in sort of like a quote unquote villain set. And then because it's sort of like a what if set, you don't have to worry about the storyline so much because you can almost play it off like it was a secret lair, like 100 card secret lair.
Yeah, so just so you can
I,
take away
I
the
just
responsibility of if it fails, we don't all point our fingers at you
Yes.
and laugh.
smart.
That's
Yeah.
that's really what it is. It's all about washing my hands clean.
I just keep thinking
That's it.
about
That's my pitch.
how there was Morph and then like Megamorph or whatever was the other one. I keep thinking of
Mhm.
Infect and Mega Infect for this set.
Oh gosh.
You get double the poison counters.
Super
Everything has
poison.
trample infect.
Yeah.
Everything's like Blightsteel Colossus.
Mini morph
No,
instead of
no, no,
megamorph.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, guys. That's the pitch.
I like it.
It's a little rough on the edges, I think. But I don't know. Like I said, I kind of like the aftermath sets and the fact that they seemed a little more honed in. And I wouldn't mind seeing more aftermath sets for future sets, especially like some of these larger kind of story pieces. Like, what if they did a Outlaws of Thunder Junction aftermath set and went, okay, well now that they've taken loot away from the plane, what does it look like after the heist is over? What's the ramifications of that?
Desert the Magic the Gathering set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so there
I
you
feel like
have it. So no, go ahead.
I feel like aftermath sets would work. Like these Assassin's Creed like aftermath sets would work
Mhm.
if it was like, okay, hey, here's 100 cards. We're selling them to you at $50, but if you want alt art, here's collector boosters. Because if people could just buy like 100 cards for $50, people would be ecstatic. They'd be like, cool, I got all the cards I need. And then it's just really the collectors who are like, well, I want the alt arts. So like I feel like that's how you do an
Mhm.
aftermath set and everyone is happy. Not these 5 card booster packs that are $10.
No, no, I don't. I disagree with having the 5 card booster pack stuff. I think you got to go full size. But yeah, I think maybe collector art is the way to go. Or sometimes you hear people talk about wanting to go back to like the block release strategy where you
Mhm.
spent 2 3 sets in the same setting. I could maybe for larger set pieces see like a prologue main set epilogue kind of thing. So you go, here's a prologue of 50 to 100 cards. Here's a main set that maybe has 200, and then an aftermath set of 50 to 200 cards. All together is like the
Yeah.
size of one full set, but you're getting it. Here's the intro to the story. Here's the meat of the story, and then here's kind of the aftermath of the story.
Yeah, I like that. It's like if you tease the set, kind of gets people excited about like the main set. Like if you have a little intro that's just a taste, or like it's the transition between the last set to this one, that's kind of interesting. And then the main set will kind of illuminate the story, and then the secondary wraps it up and everybody's happy, the story's concluded, just like at the end of Aftermath, how everybody was happy and everybody liked the end of that storyline, right? I don't remember the full
Yeah, and they
results.
all cheered in the store. Oh my god, what a perfect wrap up.
And we all said Atraxa,
I actually
more like Atrax dumb.
Well, and I think too, one of the main comments you're going to hear on that is if you do a pre-release, a aftermath, a main set, all the stuff, is how congested the release calendar is going to look. Because we were talking about how congested the release calendar looks. I almost think if you did a prequel kind of set, does that not get rid of your need for such a heavy preview season? Because you could almost go, here's the 50 cards to kind of whet your appetite for the set that's upcoming, and then they don't have to tease it as much.
Sounds like a pretty good, pretty good thing to me. Spoiler season just gets so overwhelming, and it's like, by the time the cards come out, it's already, you're already more excited about the next set. So I'm down for a
Hmm.
world where they
Yeah.
reduce the period of time that you're getting those leaks, and just instead let you play with some of like I don't know if you ever see the Tumblr posts that Rosewater puts out that are like, here are, there's going to be this many creatures, or there's going to be a creature that has this subtype, and then it's fun kind of like matching them up. But you could get that same thing by doing like a mini set, or even a smaller set from um, than Aftermath, like a 50, or like 40 or 50 card set, that the only point is like,
Yeah,
this is just building a pipe. They're not predatorily priced. It's just like, just trying to build hype for the new set. Here's the little play thing while you wait.
there we go. All right, guys. So there you have it. Our three pitches for what we each think would be a perfect, or at least an ideal set we would like to see come up. So I think that's going to get us to the end of today's conversation. So we're going to hop into question of the week, card of the week, and then start wrapping up today's episode. So, gentlemen, are you ready? Question of the week.
Let's hear it.
This week's question of the week comes to us from Tim, and Tim would like to know: have you ever done or considered doing cosplay at an MTG event? And who would you want to dress as? Oh, Demir Daddy, let's take it away. You're obviously going to go as who?
The answer might surprise you, but yes, I have actually wanted to. I've many times thought about. I used to do a lot of cosplay when I was a lot younger, and so I thought it'd be a fun way to combine my passions for magic and craftsmanship. I like doing a little bit of sewing, doing a little bit of cheeky, um, designing and stuff. And so I made a really cool. Not to toot my own horn, or more so, not to toot my own mushroom here, but I made a really cool mushroom hat that is about like 3.5 feet wide. And just about as tall, and it's this really beautiful art piece that I made for a music festival once, and then was never really given a good opportunity to wear it again. It does weigh about 16 pounds, so it's a little
Hmm.
heavy on the head there,
Oh,
but when you
fine.
get the when you get the balance on it, and it's not bad to wear for shorter periods of time. So I've thought about and almost did a one of those closet cosplay competitions that they do at Command Fest for Slimefoot. And then Erica
Mhm.
was going to be
Mhm.
Squee, and we were going to put her in a bald cap and paint her pretty much green. And it was going to be awesome, but she was a little bit opposed to the um being painted green, and so then I was like, I guess I'll be Squee, I'll go bald cap. But this mushroom hat I worked so hard on. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. But if I were to do it, it's and I will do it. It's going to be Slimefoot and Squee
I
2023.
like that your story was basically that you fell into classic Squee versus Slimefoot infighting, which it obviously happens. You just look at the two of them on the card and you're like, they get along. Don't necessarily get along.
Yeah, but it's a fun team up, and it was it was like a peanut butter and jelly sort of couples cosplay. So if it's not that one, we'll see. But Squee could be axed from this situation, this equation.
Just so you do hold true to Slimefoot's values. Like I've got Squee, but Squee could just be left at home and we'd be okay.
He has a Squeeze toy. Squee, he's always holding like a little bauble in his heart. He's already got something good. Let the fungi's party.
Cody, I think that puts the ball in your court. Are you more of the Slimefoot or the Squee?
I think I'm more of the squee.
Yeah.
I'd like to be immortal and not potentially eaten by people who think I'm a mushroom that can be eaten.
There
That's how
you
you
go.
spread the
So
spores.
Yeah.
who and
Um,
or
yeah.
what I guess would you want to cosplay as?
So like growing up, I've gone to many like Comic Cons and all that, and I've always wanted to do cosplay, but like I am not artistically like good. Like
Mhm.
talking is the main thing I got going for me. As a bald man, I have a couple options here because like I can pick a bald character, or I can wear a wig pretty easily. So like my initial thing is on the bald side, go Minsk and Boo, but that's like a little bit D&D Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it still counts.
Go for
Yeah,
the
okay,
eyes,
yeah, yeah.
Boo.
My other option is like a ginger bent Kalia of the Vast and just like get a red wig and some wings going.
Okay.
Well, if your history is going to Comic Cons, then there's a classic Ginger Bent Slave Leia Comic Con costume that appears at
Yeah.
any Comic Con you ever go to.
And they're
So I think
Yeah.
you
always
could pull off the Talia.
hilarious.
Yeah, the ever hilarious.
Always. I'd have to like really like if I ever was to do it, I'd probably have to really think long and hard about a character to be because like probably like I gotta build the entire outfit, you know.
You got to adopt a hamster for the Minsk and Boo and then like after the
That's true.
show, who takes care of the hamster? You for the next 3 to 5 months or whatever their lifespans are. Not really. I know it's like 3 to 5 years, but they just always are comically dying.
I have a very bad story with hamsters, but I will not tell it on air. So yeah.
Sorry to bring up your trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough on that front. I have never cosplayed, but I think like Cody, I've been to many a Comic Con and I've seen a lot of people cosplaying. They look like they're having a good bit of fun. Also been to not a lot, but I've been to a few Magic events, and there's usually some cosplayers there, and they look like they're having a lot of fun. So maybe I would try it at some point, but I've yet to get there. I think the closest I've done. I don't know if I ever told you this, Cole, but last year I tried or I considered
Slave
where
Leia.
we were going to do a video set,
Nothing.
but I considered doing, or we considered doing a video that was going to be like a Christmas kind of gift guide. And I looked into doing Bernard, the like cookie sculptor guy.
Right. I remember you
Just,
did mention that
just
to me.
yeah, because I was like, what would be great is if there was like Banta Claus, and that was just the whole gimmick. Like he's Bant, that was it. There was no depth beyond that.
It was good. Banta Claus, it was clever. People would have got it. People would have appreciated it.
Yeah.
So okay, so then we do it this Christmas. I'll be Bernard. You can be Trulane, and we'll be dueling Banta Clauses.
I'm down. Or I'll be a little, Sir Ginger the meal ender action. Just do a little gingerbread man maneuver.
I like it. So yeah, I think if I were going to cosplay something, it would probably be that. Only because that's the closest to a cosplay I've ever gotten. If not that, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would do well with a wig or a bald cap. I have too much like facial and top hair, to navigate that. And I live in Florida, so I'd have to find an event up
Oh,
north, I think.
yeah.
Otherwise it's like a giant rotisserie spit.
Well, I have a couple gallons of green paint if Squee ever tickles your fancy.
No. I think I'll go Chris Krinko. Thank you very much. But hey, Tim, thank you for your question of the week. Guys, if you want to leave us a question of the week, you can do so anywhere you can leave a comment to the podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave in the comments down below. If you're watching on Spotify, leave a comment. Or you can reach out to us on Twitter and all that good stuff. But next up, we have card of the week. As is tradition, Cody, we ask our guests to bring out their very own card of the week. Now, this could be anything. Be your favorite card, your least favorite card, something you recently played, something you saw in spoiler season that you just wanted to talk about. So, what is our card of the week?
Our card of the week is Profane Transfusion. This is a 6 generic black, black, black for a sorcery that says 2 target players exchange life totals. You
Ooh.
create an XX colorless horror artifact creature token where X is the difference between those players' life totals.
Wow.
So I got to play this the other day. And let me tell you, I was in a game with MTG Lexicon, and Quinn was at 41 life, and Cole of the Heroes Blade Vibe Check podcast was at 22. And the turn started, and I realized I could cast this spell. And so I said, Cole, I need you to trust me. And I was like, this is going to be hilarious. And he was like, I'm on board.
Like a real like Jesus take the wheel kind of thing.
Yeah. And so I swung 21 damage at him,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, okay, I'm not on board anymore. I said, just trust me. It's going to work out. So he takes the damage. I go to my second main phase. I play the spell. I swap their lives. So Cole goes from 1 to 41, and Quinn goes from 41 to 1. Now, here's the best part.
Yeah.
Quinn had Descent into Avernus on board.
Ooh.
So got to the upkeep stage, and that was it.
And meanwhile, you're sitting pretty with a 40/40 horror.
Yeah, it quickly died, but it was worth it for that. I was flailing my arms like that one Kermit gif. That's how excited I was.
That's the ultimate usage of that card. That's like an edge scenario that is awesome that you were able to deal 21, blackjack type of damage to this guy. And it would be a bad time for a counter spell to come out, but obviously if it's red, you might not have the.
If it had gotten countered, I would have cried. I just would have been like, oh.
No, this is definitely one of those cards where I think at 9 mana, you look at it and you go, it's not always going to do what I want, but the time that it works, it really works.
For sure, yeah. I run it in my
having that-
Savage like life gain deck. So it's like very much like, okay, if I'm really low, I can swap and get a bunch of life and then make a big demon with it. So it's kind of nice.
Well, there we go. That is the card of the week, which brings us to the end of today's episode. So first off, thank you, Cody, for joining us, hopping on for this chat. I know, you're a busy person, so anytime you can take out to hang out with us is greatly appreciated. But Cody, if the people enjoyed your thoughts and your brain processes and all that kind of stuff, where can they find you?
You can find me by myself at Brew at Cody on Twitter, or you can find us on the podcast Brew Review, where once a month we sit down and we build a deck and we talk about it, talk about some swaps we would make, things like that. Really try to dissect a deck that we've made. You can find us on any podcast service of your choice at Brew Review. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Brew Review MTG. And Cole and Cory, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a ton of fun. Like when you approached me with the idea, I was like, I used to take creative writing in college, and I was like, oh, I'm going. Like things are just spinning in my head. So this was a really good callback to like that. So thank you guys. It was really cool.
I'm glad you had a good time. Hey, if you want to find Cole, you can find Cole at loveandmana.mtg, where he is going to be theory crafting his third iteration of Lorwyn. So you can hunt him down there. You can find me at Sleevecard. Both of us you can find pretty much wherever you'd like: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. Or you can reach out to the podcast directly at UrCastPod or contact.urcast@gmail.com. But thank you for making it to the end of today's episode. Have yourselves a magical Friday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.